got my hands in my pockets, kicking these rocks. It's kind of hard to watch this life go by. I'm buying into skeptics mess with the confidence.
So how are you still doing the higher content of the meat and stuff on the sandwiches?
All right, we're ready to go, guys. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna do a little intro, and we're gonna kick this off. So, good morning, everybody. Hey, my name is Dustin Schaefer. If we haven't had a chance to meet yet, super grateful to be meeting you and doing this virtual, huddle up. And I'm super excited. I've been with Prove It since the very beginning. And one of my first events, it was in August of 2015. You don't know it at the meditation I did this morning. It was with Jay Shetty. He talked about how Snoop Dogg and how 50 Cent and Beth Midler are friends and how they have this relationship, and they're such unique personalities, very different personalities, but yet they have things in common. And I say that because that was actually the meditation I went through this morning, and I was thinking about when I first met Mitch Newman. This is back in August of 2015. Now, if you know Mitch today, you're like, no way he was like that when you know 2015. Like he's not the same person. This is what happens when people stay with Prove It and they're part of Prove It for a long period of time, is that they seem almost like completely different people. But the reality is that he is the same person. He just has stepped into even more of his own greatness, and it's been really cool watching him grow. But I actually I had the privilege of sitting Mitch Newman down for the very first time in the very first event Prove It ever hosted. And I think that's kind of neat. And now I was the usher. Mitch was a guest. Now, Mitch doesn't actually like to sit up front. He wants to sit in the back. He wants to kind of be away from, he doesn't like all the people sliming on him. And I put him right up front, and he took it like a champ. And he went and sat down. And that was the very first time I ever met Mitch Newman. Now, we didn't really have a conversation or talk. And now over the last 7 years, we've developed this really cool relationship. I think we both admire each other's work ethic and ability to grow as people, and open to grow as people. And a couple of weeks ago, he and I chatted about this concept around colors, and how we have all these people that join the Prove It community with different personalities, different maybe desires, different goals, things that drive them or that encourage them to do more to the world. And it gets kind of sometimes confusing, because sometimes you'll have people on your team that aren't doing things the way you would want them to do, or they're acting out differently than you would do. And we don't even know sometimes how to handle that, or even to identify those people, or how to encourage them to keep going in this journey with us. At the same time, some of us wake up in the morning and we're like, what are we? Like, what's going on with us? Like, how should I work with myself? So what I want to do is I want to bring Mitch on, and we're going to take a few moments and go through this concept of colors training. And some of you have heard it before. If you've ever done a colors training in the chat, put a 1. If you've never done a colors training, I want you to put a 2. And it's going to be, this isn't going to be an extensive 2-hour colors training. It's going to be this is where I kind of fall and what I can do to start moving myself in the right direction, but also how do I build a team with some of this knowledge and concept. So Mr. Mitch Newman, super stoked to have you on. I've been waiting for this Zoom for a while, so I'm super excited to have you on, buddy.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. I want to clarify that story about seating at the first event. It wasn't a fact that I wanted to sit in the back because I wanted to be away from people. The reason I had learned to sit in the back from events was because I had to constantly go to the bathroom, and I was constantly yawning and falling asleep.
That's right.
But having been on the product for, at that point, about a month, I was shocked. And that's why I was nervous to sit so close. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to bother all these people. I'm going to have to get up and go to the bathroom a million times. I'm going to fall asleep. It's going to be embarrassing. I'm right in the second row. And I was amazed how I was able to focus, pay attention, all because of this amazing product. So important part of that story.
So Mitch liked people. He just was, he was uncomfortable with his own performance, is what I'm hearing. So
that's right.
And of course, it's hard to people to prove an event. If anybody that can pull that one off is good on them.
Oh yeah.
Buddy, I'm super stoked to have you on. We have a crew of people on here that are wanting to grow more. And the reality is, I looked at the chat there. Most people don't even know what colors are. Like the whole
Sure.
concept is kind of just a mythical concept to them. So if you don't mind, take a moment and just give people that kind of overview of what that would be. And then we'll dive into how do they identify some of them.
Sure. So my background is psychology. My background is communication, how people communicate, don't communicate, need to communicate better. Why they communicate, why they refuse to communicate, and why they buy, why they don't buy. All these different things are of fascination to me. So the colors training, the concept of the colors is that it's kind of, and when the first time I actually saw it was when Natalie Kilborn, who's a member of our community, did it on stage. And basically what it is, it's personality types in essence, right? So there's yellow, there's red, there's green, and there's blue. And yellow being somebody who's really more probably into communications, more touchy-feely, a hugger like myself, somebody who is motivated by primarily, initially at least, contribution, uplifting of other people. The blue is somebody who's really geared towards fun. They want to do things that are fun. They're always active. They're always going. They want to be a part of a community that does fun things. The green is somebody who's like kind of the numbers. I need to see the numbers. I need to see how all this works. I need to see all the pieces and how they all fit together. They're a bit more on the technical side, the sciencey side. And then there's the red. The red is the person who is a lot of times a little bit flashier, a little bit more money motivated, out the gate, a little bit more excited about how do I capitalize on this? How do I monetize this? All of those things. And so with that, in the description of that, there were always these attributes that were assigned to people that were really, one would call positive and negative, right? Or uplifting and challenging. And so what I found when I saw that first colors training is I was able to identify, at least initially, that I'm a yellow, that's the category that I'm first interested in, right? But then all of a sudden I noticed myself when they started to show some of the, what one would consider maybe a negative attribute of a yellow, I found like I really couldn't relate to many of them. And I found myself getting distracted trying to relate to them and then losing sight of the fact of what the uplifting, powerful attributes were. So in my mind, I started when going through this process, I started seeing things that I think that could be extrapolated from this in a powerful, uplifting way that we could utilize and help people to understand more about themselves and about other people without having to get into deep psychological stuff around how people were raised or not raised and getting into all those stories. It's not necessary. So I decided that I was just simply going to focus on what are the positive attributes of each of those things, the uplifting attributes of each of those colors and those people, and forget about the negative. Because you know what, when you really focus on what's uplifting and you really zero in on that, a lot of that negative stuff or perceived negative stuff, which is why I couldn't relate to mine that was up there on the chart, was because a lot of that stuff just shifts away. It just moves away on its own. It filters itself out because you're so focused on living your highest quality, living your highest life. The other thing I found is I also am not a fan of labels. I don't like when people refer to themselves as whatever. Like, I don't like the whole labeling thing. I didn't like when people would say, well, I'm a blue, well, I'm a yellow, I'm a red. Because here's my belief, and this is what I've watched over 7 years. So Dustin was talking about, that was August 15th of 2015 that he seated me. Prove It was not even a company then. It was a VIP, kind of a VIP program, just buying product, getting things out into the marketplace. It wasn't until September 1st that we kind of launched and became a company. But I've gotten a chance to watch over the years, it's almost 7 years next month for me, how things shift and why people do what they do, and why it also confuses people when somebody says they're going to do something and then doesn't do it, and how that filters into whether people believe in themselves enough that they can actually build this business. There's an element of sabotage that's associated a lot of times also, from my perspective, with the colors. And I want to do everything I can to kind of show people and brighten up those colors in a way that you start to really understand more about yourself, what motivates you, what inspires you, and then also what motivates and inspires other people, so that you can actually tap into that. So you don't create a situation where you become disappointed in somebody who says, I'm all in, and suddenly they're not all in the way you define all in. So here's a couple things that I think are important. So I kind of gave you the framework of what the qualities are of each of those colors. But here's what I also truly believe. People who, I believe that all of us are all of the colors. We have a primary entry point color. So if Dustin would call me up and say, hey, Mitch, I found this amazing way where we can make a lot of money. I'm really concerned with, well, how many people are we helping? What kind of an impact are we going to make? So money is not my first motivator. So that wouldn't appeal to me. So him approaching me about money, right, when my first primary entry point color is yellow, is not going to be the way to go. Now, trust me, I do really well in Prove It. And, you want to see yellow get red real quick, try and take away my residual check. Okay. So let's not have any doubts about that. But at the same time, it's not my primary motivator. So if Dustin calls me up and says, hey, Mitch, I found a way for us to impact millions of people's lives in a really powerful way, and there's also a money component to it, I'm all ears. I'm in. My energy raises. Why? Because he's meeting me at the point of entry. So I'm a yellow primary entry point. I vacillate. My second color vacillates between blue and red. And my green, which is around the details and the science, which is not my thing, is on a need-to-know basis. Somebody calls me up and says, well, how much money do you make if you do this and do this and do this? And I have to do the research. That's a need-to-know basis all of a sudden. But that's not my primary, because half the time I don't even know. I have to call people like Dustin and ask them. So we always have what I would call the last one is usually one that's a need to know. So what I like to do in understanding that, in seeing how those colors work, is a lot of times what people do is they'll call somebody. Now, here's the caveat. If I'm in a fight with my wife, right, and I'm in fight or flight around it because there's not enough money coming in, and in order for us to pay for this, or we're going to lose this if we don't find the money for this, and then Dustin happens to call me on that day, he says to me, hey, I found a way for us to make a lot of money. I'm going to be listening, because all of a sudden that need went to the front. Here's the challenge with that. Because I was in fight or flight and I'm reacting to that, here's the challenge. Somebody is in that. So Dustin calls up somebody and says, hey, Carol, found this great way we can make a lot of money. We'll do this thing and it help a lot of people, blah, 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 and money. And they go, oh man, I'm all in. I know a million people. Like, I'm going to crush this thing. I'm all in. And go, great, let's get started. Carol has a chance to calm down. The fight with her husband has subsided. She gets back into the present moment. A couple days have gone by. And Dustin calls her up and says, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to do A, B, C, and D. And all of a sudden, Carol goes, whoa. Like, she doesn't know where to start. She doesn't, like, that's just too much. That I have to call people. I have to ask people if they will spend money. Like, all of a sudden now she's freaking out. Now, on the other side, if Dustin isn't understanding how he reached her, what was going on for her, and didn't have a long enough conversation about what her needs and wants are in a bigger picture, then Dustin's going to start to go, like a lot of people start to go, God, I get all these people going. They say they're all in and they don't do anything. I'm the only one who does anything. I don't know. Maybe this business isn't for me. So the colors gives you an opportunity to slow the conversation down that you're having with someone on your team that's already in and someone that's brand new that's considering coming in. So here's how I do it. Here's how I make it work, because I don't want to be disappointed. Listen, not everybody is going to come in and do what they say they're going to do. No question about it. We can't catch everybody in that situation. But what I want to do is I want to slow the conversation down long enough. I want to slow it down long enough so that I really have an understanding of what's most important to Carol. So Carol, tell me a little bit about yourself and tell me, what is it about Prove It or about this business model that's most exciting to you? Now, she called me up and said, I'm ready to get signed up. I would still go, well, hold on a second. It's like somebody saying, hey, you know, I know I'm looking, you know, at the time I was looking to get married at one point, but if somebody called me up and said, I'm ready to get married, let's go. I would go, well, hold on a second. It's the same thing in Prove It. It's a relationship that we're building here, not rushing into anything. I want to know who I'm working with. You have to understand that your time is so super valuable. So I'll ask those questions and I'll ask her, so what is most important? So Carol may say,
Quiet.
Mitch, you got you muted there. Try that again. Unmute yourself if you don't mind. That was my fault.
So Carol may say, well, Mitch, you know, I worked in a corporate job and I made good money, but, you know, I never really had a feeling of that I was making any kind of an impact on people's lives. Like I never knew the end user and the experience that they were having. You know, I'm at a point in my life where I want to feel like after coming out of this pandemic, that I want to feel like I'm doing something that creates value in somebody's life. So I hear that. So what is Carol just revealed to me? She's revealed to me her first primary entry point. That's the first thing she said. So I write down yellow, wants to make an impact, and then I draw an arrow down. What else? Tell me some other things. Well, you know, I see that Prove It does a lot of these, you know, trips. I see there's this Cancun trip that's coming up, and you know, I really haven't gotten out and done a lot of stuff. You know, working in a corporate job, you have such set times where you can go. And by the time there was a vacation, it was like I was too exhausted to go and, you know, play with my kids or take my husband away, whatever. So I write down blue, wants to travel, Prove It trips. Anything else? And she may say, well, don't get me wrong, Mitch, I was making good money and and my husband isn't working right now. So I do want to make money at this. I go, great. Write down red, wants to make money. So now I know that the green is going to be her on a need to know basis. It's not the first primary thing that she's worried about. How much money can I make? Where is it coming from? What happens if you enroll this many people? That was never even a consideration. So now I have that in front of me. I've written it down. So now I go back and I say, you know, Carol, I totally get it. I've been a coach my whole life. My whole thing is about helping people and creating impact in people's lives. And honestly, that's a huge driver for me. So I can totally relate to the fact that at this point in your career, at this point in time, with everything we've been through in the pandemic, that you want to create a level of impact and know how you're creating impact. So we can do that here. And yeah, these Prove It trips, I'm telling you, like I've been on several of them. They're just a lot of fun. You know, sometimes we do some business meetings and we play and we do these different activities and we get to connect as a community. Super, super powerful. And don't get me wrong too, like money is important. It's necessary if you want to have things and go places and do things. It does cost money. And I've been very, very blessed and Prove It as a result of the energy and effort that I've put into it to be able to do that as well. So now what I've done is I've gone back and I've reflected back to Carol what's most important to her. And in the process, created a relatability authentically. I wasn't making anything up. Authentically with me, that she can actually have what she wants and experience what she wants to experience here at Prove It. So now I know what's most important to her in the order that it's most important. So now when I go to get her started, I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to sit here and go, okay, you got to get this many customers. You got to go through this. I'm not going to sit there and go down the money lane because I know money isn't her first primary motivator. It's not her entry point. I'm going to talk to her about what we're going to do first and how that's going to impact people.
In your office.
Is that making sense? Give me a thumbs up if this is making sense. It's hard to see. I'm on my phone here, so I can't see a lot of. I got some thumbs. Okay. So now I'm having a different level of conversation and dialogue with people. Now that's the brand new person. But what about the person that's maybe been in a while? that's kind of back and forth, hemming and hawing, says they're going to do something, isn't doing something, consider revisiting a conversation with them and saying, hey, listen, you've been involved in Prove It for 6 months, for 6 years, for 6 minutes, whatever it is. I know there were some things that you had set aside, some goal for yourself. What's most important to you right now? Truly most important to your heart right now in growing this business if you're actually going to step in and grow it. So now we're revisiting the same conversation with somebody who's been in Prove It. Why? Because how many of us go, I don't understand. They said they were all in, but they haven't done anything, or they're not doing anything. Of course, if you catch somebody in a place where they need money or whatever color that is that's primary for them in that moment, of course that's going to be, you're going to get pulled in and go, oh yeah, let's go, let's run. But not everybody's ready to run. They might be ready to run in that moment. So if we slow down the conversation, even with people who've been in Prove It. So you got the new person to be able to have this conversation with, and you've got the people that already exist within Prove It, within your teams to have that conversation with. And before you're going to do any of that, you're going to have that conversation with yourself. What is really most important to me? What is it that I set out to do and Prove It? What have been my goals? Have they shifted over time? Let me first be able to identify what my color schematic is. What's my first primary entry point? What's my second? What's my third? So now what happens is because I've been able to identify that for myself, I'm able to track the conversations, situations, experiences, and circumstances that present themselves in my life, and do they fit in to that order? So I'm utilizing my time in the most effective way. I'm not getting distracted. I'm not running after something over here and running after something over here. I'm focused on the fact that contribution is the most important thing to me. It is the most important thing to me. It is the highest frequency I know and understand, is to be able to impact somebody else's life in a positive way. I went out and create a significant residual income, not because I focused on creating a significant residual income. I focused on creating significant residual impact. And as a byproduct of that, my residual income grew. Now, there's plenty of people within Prove It that make more money than I do, that have larger teams than I do, that have different things. I got to follow like what's true to me. I got to follow what's most important to me. So I went and created impact and uplifted people, right? And Dustin's the same way. Dustin says, hey, can you come on to this Zoom and talk about this? Yes, absolutely, 100%. Plenty of people in different teams outside of their team Prove It will ask me to do that, and I don't hesitate. People go, but you don't make any money. I go, I don't care. This is my joy. I had somebody one time say to me, well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Like, I'm on like your 15th level. Like, you don't even make any money off of me. And I go, hey, not to worry. I didn't even know you were on my team. I just didn't even know. I don't care. I love helping people. I protect my energy. I protect and I have boundaries around my availability and when I can and can't, because I can't just be everywhere. I have to be narrow. I have to be focused. But my joy is in helping people. Dustin's joy is in helping people. Some of you, that may be your first thing. Other people, they're fire engine red. Let's go, go, go. Let's build this. Okay. It takes all kinds. You don't have, 5, LeBron James or Michael Jordans on the same team. Everybody has their different role, has their different place, has their different way, the place that they fit in. It's all good. There's no judgment on which color makes more sense or is better. It's just what's true to your heart. Now, once you determine what's true to your heart, all of a sudden you realize, okay, now I know what inspires me. So if this inspires me, I'm going to be willing to slow down the conversation with a new person and with people on my team and have this conversation with them. And then I'm going to teach them, hey, here's why I had this conversation with you. Here's what I was doing while you were talking. I was writing down what your primary color was with an arrow down and what was exciting to you. And then if you notice, especially with people that are already in your business, right? You want to have this conversation with them. And then I reflected back to you on a relatability factor in the order of what's most important to you, not what's most important to me. And that's where a lot of people get confused. I was just trying to enroll people.
Can we touch on that for a second? And we asked a really good question. The first thing, what I'd love everybody to do in the chat, based off of, like I said, we weren't going to go into huge or depth of like the full blown colors training, which I don't think is even that necessary, because it's fundamentally just starting to recognize where you're at. If you know your primary color and maybe your secondary color, put it down in the chat in the order that you feel that yours is. The one thing that I know that I've been pressed towards, I'm a red yellow, just so y'all know. I have a red and then I'm yellow, and I flip-flop, can flip-flop pretty quick, based on life circumstances like Mitch had talked about. But I would say that if I had, anyway, I'm not, Mitch and I probably get in a long debate about what color my primary color is. I feel like I really bounce between red and yellow a lot. The big challenge that I had is that I treated basically everybody like a red. We had a lot of people in our organization early on that we literally pushed them right out of the business because I was just having fun running and going and gunning and everything else, but they didn't sign up for all that. And we didn't take time and slow down to identify their colors. So Mitch, I want you to kind of say that again for everybody. And there's a question in here. It might just be this question that I could have you answer, because it might actually tell you that. What would it look like for someone set to achieve measurable results who is not money motivated? What would that look like? If there's a way that you could objectively measure that?
Contribute to the community. Talk to people about joining and linking arms because of the power of the community and what we get to accomplish as a community around the world, how we get to grow and help other people. Talk about the power, of the product and all the things that can happen as a result of taking the product, the different things that you can experience, and on a physical level, a mental level, an emotional level, a spiritual level. You don't have to. A lot of times people, they say they're not necessarily money motivated, but they also need money. Like, we need money. It is a currency that allows us to move about. They may be uncomfortable with that. And that's another way sometimes people say, well, I'm not really money motivated. Sometimes they're uncomfortable with the idea of money. They have a certain belief system or experiences in their lives and around what money looks like, and it scares them from time to time. And that's okay. So focus on the person. Focus on the things that you want to share, and look for those kinds of people. The goal really is if you pay attention to that, what you're doing is you're not making it about yourself. To me, what a leader is, let me restate that. To me, one of the greatest qualities of a leader, when they're looking at all these colors, okay, and they identify themselves as a part of each color as a part of them, is start to see themselves as a chameleon. So my primary entry point is a yellow. You can put me in a room full of reds, and I'll be able to adapt and go red,
right?
Because I can relate to that. It's not something that's not fathomable to me. There's plenty of people that I work with in Prove It that are fire engine red, and I can join in and blend in no matter what. You can put me in any color, and I'll adapt. So being a chameleon is important if you want to lead at a higher level. Now, if you're building a team and you don't know the schematic, the color schematic of the people that you're working with, then what ends up happening, and I see this a lot, man, I've seen it a lot over 7 years. I see somebody who's fire engine red, and their energy and their frequency is so high that when they talk to somebody that's new, they actually activate at a higher level that red in that person.
Right.
That red may have jumped past the yellow that they are, the blue that they really are as a primary entry point, but they were so excited and their frequency was so high that my frequency rose to that. So what ends up happening is the red person is all of a sudden looking for the reds. I'm looking for all the reds. I'm looking for all the reds. I'm looking for all the reds. Well, not everybody's a red initially.
Right.
So then they get disappointed, and they start to, all of a sudden they enroll a ton of people. And they're like so excited, and they get all these accolades. I enrolled X number of people this last month, blah, 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 blah. And then they go to put them to work, but the instructions are red. And not all those people are ultimately going to be primary entry point red. As so I said earlier, all of a sudden you're going to give somebody instructions on what to do based on what you want and what you think is important and what they agreed to at the time. And all of a sudden they go, whoa, that's a little too much. That's like, whoa, I don't know if I have the time to do that. And then a lot of times, and I've seen it happen, that person who brought all those people in using all that red energy, all of a sudden doesn't realize what they're doing is they're sabotaging their business. And they call me and they literally say to me, I don't understand, Mitch. Like, I get all these people, I get them all, they're all excited and whatever, and they just don't do anything. Like, I don't know, maybe this business isn't for me. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. Let's go back. Let's revisit. Are you enrolling people based on your primary entry point or their primary entry point? Pregnant pause, silence, hear a pin drop.
And I'm going to just touch on that. I use this as an example. When I was younger, and when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, it's funny because I kept attracting people with illness, and the reason I was working with them was because of the illness, and I didn't like it. Actually, I felt like I was not doing well. I was under stress. I was getting unpleasant in my own career. And then what I did is I decided to make a shift, and I said, okay, instead of focusing on people's problems, I'm going to focus on what they want to improve in their life, right? So we start focusing on like, okay, how do we go and run a 5K? How do we do a bike ride and do really cool, like positive things? Well, ironically, I still attracted people with illness, but we were focused on a positive gain in their life, not the illness in their life. And I got better. My treatments were better. The reason why I say that is that right now, Veronica said something that I think is really important. And what Mitch had said just right now is really important, is that you may be, I see this a lot with our reds, and I see this a lot with the yellows. Actually, I'm going to say it with all colors. It truly is. You're attracting, sometimes you're pulling your color out of them, and you're only seeing the color that you are in them. It's like, oh my goodness, they just love to help people. And you see that, but the reality is maybe they really need some extra cash, and you're hesitant to even talk about the money to them because your focus is just impacting people. And the money side is maybe a need to know, or just need it from time to time. And these are things that become incongruent. So one of the things I wanted to mention, and this is where the connection piece can be very valuable, is getting them connected to maybe a different color in your team leaders, so that you can help that person maybe find maybe a commonality in somebody else. That's very important. Plug them into our team Zooms are really important. But Mitch, Veronica said something. I wanted you to kind of give her maybe some on the spot coaching, because I think this matters a lot. And how she worded it matters a lot. This is me too. And my struggle is that I am passionate about what it is about ketones and what they do, and how to do it and she goes, I would do it for free. And that's my struggle. Can you just give her some guidance for people that are just super passionate about helping people, and they want to just give, and they feel like that's actually a fault to theirs? Can you give her some coaching on that?
Well, listen, it's very, very important. There's this element of self-care, right? And you hear me talk about this. Anybody who's known me or been around me for the past whatever amount of time, you'll hear me talk about setting boundaries and self-care, and about being able to take care of yourself. If you're constantly giving and you don't leave time for yourself, and you don't create a scenario where you also put yourself in a position to receive, because that's the challenge. A lot of times people who are give are like uncomfortable to receive. They almost feel like a part of themselves doesn't deserve it. What ends up happening is you end up burning yourself out because you're in that constant give mode. And at some point on a subconscious level, people who are on the give, they get so exhausted physically, mentally, and emotionally, that they actually start to notice that they get a little bit angry and resentful. They can't figure out, well, where is this coming from? Because what they start to realize is that if you're just giving and you're not learning how to receive, then what you're doing, this is just straight up, like we're going right to the core here. What you're really doing is you're manipulating other people to find your value. If I do for you and you say, oh, thank you, or I really love you, or oh my God, you're the best, then we're constantly needing other people to remind us, or at least even attempt to remind us of our own value. So what ends up happening is that it becomes, it's almost like a form of manipulation, the giving part. So it's very, very important to make sure that you are taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. Learning how to set boundaries of what's okay and what's not okay. Learning when it's important for you to say no, and here's why. Your level of self-care will determine your sustainability in this business or any business or in life in general. We learn to give. It happens in our childhood. A lot of times in our childhood is we're trying to find out, where do I fit in? How do I get love? And in the process of where do I fit in and how do I get love, we start to do things, and all of a sudden we give to people, and we find that love is filtered back to us, or that appreciation is filtered back to us. And we go, oh, that's what I do. I just give people and then I get love. We have to get ourselves to a place where we deserve love simply because we are. And it's not always about what we are constantly doing, having to do for others to keep filling our own bucket. We have to fill our own bucket. So it's very challenging sometimes for people, because I get a lot of calls over the past 7 years where people are they're just physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausted. Why? Because at some point, all of that giving starts to get exhausting. It just starts to get exhausting. So self-care, super important. Making sure you're doing your own gratitude work, your own breath work, your own meditations, your own prayers, listening to things that fill you up mentally and emotionally, deepening your relationships. This is so very important from a sustainability standpoint. Most people go through life with either sporadic results, all or nothing results, nothing results, or sustainable results. I like sustainable results. I think that's the winner right there. So what have I found that works with that? It's a balance between your inside game, how you're taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and the external, which is do, go, be, all that stuff, all the doing stuff. You have to take action in order in the world. You have to take action. But what is that level of action? Am I doing things for people to get love? Or am I doing things because I genuinely like to see people be uplifted? And as a result, it inspires me to even uplift myself, inspire myself. Remember, I talked about residual impact has driven my residual income. When I focus, in the times where I focus on money, I can get myself in fight. I can get myself crazy. I can get myself in fight or flight. I get myself, I got to pay for this. I got to be able. That's not how I want to live. That's exhausting at the end of the day. All that cortisol and adrenaline, it's exhausting. So the key is finding the flow, not the balance, because I don't believe balance exists. The flow between your inside game and your outside game. I'm taking care of myself and I'm helping other people. Now I'm back to taking care of myself while helping other people. And I'm back to taking care of myself and I'm helping other people. It's like a loop. And it's ongoing for me throughout the day. So when you're in that, then all of a sudden, you're able to embrace us fully as a community. So your time here is not short-lived before you go on to some other community and then do the giving thing and the giving thing and the giving thing and then get exhausted and then leave and then go someplace else. The givers who genuinely want to give, and most people do, even the people who are doing it to get love, they do enjoy giving. But what they fail to realize how important it is to learn how to receive. Because when you learn how to receive, you're basically making a statement that says, I deserve to, and it's good. It's okay.
Well, thanks for that. I got a lesson about 20 years ago. A client of mine bought me a ticket, first class ticket home for Thanksgiving, last minute. And I lost it. I'm in the gym, I'm bawling, and I refused to take it. And he looked at me, and he's a wise man. He's somebody it's really made a huge impact in my life. And he's like, Dustin, he goes, someday, he goes, you really need to appreciate and receive, because he goes, every time that you don't allow me to do something that I'm able to do, he goes, you're taking a gift away from me. And I didn't realize the reverse side of that. And it's been a 20-year journey of learning that myself. And it's still something I have personally, I've been working on as I've been working on my own inner game. Well, Mitch, we have a action Zoom in about 15 minutes.
Sure.
I want to touch on one little thing, and I'd love for you to stay. Maybe you can clean it up if we need to. But as you've written down your primary colors, what I'd love for you to do is maybe just write down like 3 names, and as a practice, maybe one team leader that's that you look up to. Write down what colors you think they are. And then maybe 2 people on your team, if you already know and you can identify, or more importantly, maybe go have a conversation with them and just take that and do that work. And then look at your color to their color. I saw a question on there, and I think Samantha had asked it. So I love for everybody to just take time to do that. Now, this doesn't have to even be in your team. This could be just a friend. It could be anybody. This applies to all elements of life and relationships. So there's something you could do with your spouse even. The other thing I would like to write down, and I think this might be very helpful for you all. So take a moment and write this down. When you have somebody that's a yellow, and let's say you have a red tendency, and you're kind of a pusher, you're like, hey, go do this. There's a call up. There's a Zoom coming. Like, you got to get on this. There's an action Zoom, and there's a sale right now. And you have this, you want to tell them everything that's going on right now. And they stop texting back. They even stop responding to you when you do give them the message. You're like, why nobody even my group chats even talk? A couple things I want you to do is, when's the last time you gave them maybe a compliment for their last post that they made? Hey, I saw you did a really cool post. That's a really amazing story. Just acknowledging that they did something. When's the last time you maybe asked them to participate in what you do? Yellows, this is really good for you, is thank you so much, Jordan, for helping me out today on the Zoom. Jeff, I truly appreciate you muting people for me. That was really helpful. There is a reason why I ask people to actually help out on the Zoom. I want them to participate because they feel more value. They get to give back. When you're write down on somebody that's green, if you get somebody that's green, hey, I thought of you. I saw this video from Dr. Kenneth Ford. So anytime that you maybe go to Prove It TV or you see something, send it to them saying, hey, I was just thinking about you. I thought you'd really like this article. Somebody that's red, you might send them a video of maybe one of the trainers doing a training and go, wow, her personality just seemed to really connect with you. I thought you would love this training. I would love your feedback on anything that you took away and anything that we could maybe work together on. So what you're doing is you're giving them a blue. You could do a Cancun video and say, hey, next trip you and I are going on this. Let's put a strategy together to go do this. And you send a video about them doing something fun, or go take them out and do something fun with them. So what I want you to do is, if you have something that's more yellow, they're gonna love stories. You hear a good story, share the story with them. If they have a good story, ask them, do you mind on our next team Zoom, you could do this with customers, by the way, would you share your story for me? I'd love for other people to hear it, because I think it could really help and impact more lives. So these are some things that you could do, and it brings such value to them. What they do is they go talk about everything more. You're filling their cup and giving them the ability to now feel like they contribute. They're sharing their journey. They're now getting what they're looking for in this. And guess what? By doing that, they're opening up their own attraction beam and allowing more people to come in. So this is kind of the actions I would love for you to kind of take through and go through. Mitch, I don't know if you want to clean that up at all.
No, you're feeding the color. That's what you're doing. Please feed the color. It's brilliant.
That's it.
It's very important. Now, here's the other thing, though, to add to that, if I may. If you see that a sale comes up or a flash sale that comes up, You don't hesitate and not contact the person who's a yellow because like, oh God, it's about the money. You go, no, you send them a text message and you just say, hey, listen, awesome opportunity to really uplift and support some new people who really need to have greater impact in their lives, who really need to be able to get out on the ground and play with their kids. We got 30% off for the next 6 hours. Let's be honest. Discounted ketones have a tendency to taste better. And boy, oh boy, what an opportunity to create impact with even more people because of that discount. So what you're doing is you're just layering in what's most important to them while getting them also excited about that part of them that is a red, but also the part of them is because you don't want to hesitate and hold back.
Right.
Because, that's not their thing. Remember, we're all colors, but we have to frame it and phrase it in such a way that it allows them to see that what's happening is in direct alignment with what's most important to them.
I'm so glad you put that in there. I think that was that was so valuable because you're giving everybody the equal opportunity. You're just you're meeting them where they're at. And the one thing I would add to this, and for you team leaders that have big group chats, I'm working with a lady. She's like, well, how should I reach it out to them? Should I just send it in my Facebook group and my group chat? I'm like, if you want to make big impact, no, you shouldn't. If you want to make big impact, send them each a message. Make it personal because you should be sending a different message. You're trying to get everybody on the Zoom. You should be sending a different message to each one of them because the reality is that they're all coming primarily for a little bit different things. They're getting different things out of it. It's the same information for everybody, but what everybody's going to get out of it is a little bit differently. So if you really want, like I see Shannon down here who's doing just amazing things. Christine, I see Christine and Dina. If you guys really want to go, make it more individualized, and it's more time and more work on your end. But I promise you, the return is so much greater, and it does create a bigger impact for your overall business. Now, I'm not against group chats. At the end of the day, they're valuable, but they shouldn't be the primary form of communication if you really want to make a bigger impact in people's lives. Well, you all, Mitch, I appreciate it. Everybody give Mitch some love in the chat. Brad Knowles, I was actually just thinking about you earlier. Brad sent me his goals. I called him out. I probably just said that. Brad's cool. But he sent me his goals, and I was listening to him, and it was funny because there's a color. I know Brad's color really well. He's a very, very passionate yellow. And when he sent me his goals, there was an incongruency of how he set his goals and his impact. It was really fun. And he and I are waiting to do a follow-up call. I told him to talk to his wife and we should do a follow-up call on that because at the end of the day, sometimes we are maybe needing financial gain, like Mitch had said, and yet we're a yellow, or maybe we are thinking it's all about the money, but yet we just want to make impact. And it's really good for you to identify where you're at, what matters most. Right? Does it matter more that you have $10,000 a month coming in right now, or does it matter most that you feel proud that you're contributing to something really big and helping people live a better life? That is going to make a difference, and that can shift and change based on your successes here and circumstances in your own life. So, Mitch, I truly appreciate you. Y'all, if you got some good nuggets from this, give Mitch some love. Thanks for everything you do. My life has been better, and you've helped me so much in my inner game, which I'm super excited to keep working on. So I truly appreciate you, brother. Awesome. Everybody give Mitch some love. We do have our action Zoom starting here in 8 minutes. To get on that link, you have to go back to the Pulse. It's on Michael's link. For the international crew, if you don't mind, can somebody pop that link in the chat? Anybody in the international teams that didn't get the Pulse, you should have all gotten it. But for whatever reason, if you didn't get it, we'll have the link down here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. Can't find it. Somewhere. Somebody post that for me. All right. I'll hold on a second. I'll post it. Somebody help me out. Where's my contributors? I'm like, Samantha, where are you at? Send it in there. All right, 1 second. We'll get that out to you guys. And I'll keep this on for just a few minutes so you can get that link. I gotta get it out. There it is. There's the link. Okay, so Action Hour is going to start here in about 7 minutes. We have a special host, somebody I'm really excited about. that's going to be hosting this Action Zoom, and we got some really fun things to come your way. And once again, this is a journey, right? You know, when I first started this, I never heard about colors before. It took me probably 2 years before we did that training. And it just, it's something that I realized that, I didn't realize where I was at initially. And then I didn't realize, I was then just treating everybody like me, instead of, and just finding the things in them, instead of finding that, allowing them to be them. Right, because Prove It's mission is really to help people, inspire people to become the best version of themselves. That's what it is, and I can get behind that. It's such a big reason why I joined Prove It, and it's been fun, really kind of I would say finding my zone, and I wish that upon everybody, to find your groove, find you in this whole thing. And what's interesting about you know, social media is sometimes I start to hear it. People start to talk like other people, and I'm like, is that really them? Maybe it is. I don't know, but I'm always wondering, is that them, or are they just seeing so much of somebody else's personality, they start to become that instead of really finding their own groove in there. So if you're somebody that wants to make a lot of contribution and help a lot of people, and that's truly your goal, then go all in on it. Give everything you can and give. And if you have somebody on your team that's that way, allow them to do that, encourage them to do that, within boundaries of what we're doing. And also, of course, them taking into consideration their own personal self-care, which I think, Mitch, it was great that you touched on that. So y'all, the link's in the chat. I appreciate you. I'm going to turn this thing off. We'll see you all on the other side that want to contribute and participate into the Action Zoom that's coming here in just a minute. And Lynn Knowles, welcome to the West Coast. We'll see you. Well, I don't know if we'll see you. It's dynamic. We'll just allow it to flow. And if it works out, we'll see you here in a few days. Cheers, y'all.